the major story. So it looked like Forbes 30 for 30 has just snubbed Caitlin Clark in the latest issue of this.
The backlash didn't just start dated. 1 second, Forbes was celebrating their annual most influential athletes under 25 list. And the next, their entire reputation was sinking into a firestorm they never saw coming. Because buried under all the applause, all the polished headlines, all the self-congratulatory noise, was the most insane, unbelievable mistake anyone in sports media could possibly make. They left Caitlin Clark off the list, not forgotten, not misplaced, snubbed, intentionally, publicly, strategically, and the internet lost its mind. Phones vibrated nonstop. Servers crashed. Fans flooded comment sections like an army charging into battle. Reporters shouted over each other on live TV. Players across the WNBA stopped mid-practice as the news hit. And the moment Paige Bueckers quiet, focused. Respected Paige saw her own name at the top instead of Caitlin's. Her eyes widened in disbelief. Even she knew something was wrong. Within minutes, accusations erupted. Leaked texts, screenshots, whispers that Forbes executives didn't want. The Caitlin Clark effect overshadowing their list. They wanted someone safer, someone less explosive, someone who wouldn't dominate the headlines beyond their control. But karma didn't wait for the dust to settle, because before Forbes could spin the story, apologize, or hide behind PR statements, something far worse hit their offices. A twist no one expected. A reaction louder, sharper, and far more damaging than anything they planned for. Caitlin Clark herself finally responded, and the entire sports world braced for impact. Before the Forbes scandal erupted into a full-blown media earthquake, the tension had already been simmering for months beneath the polished surface of women's basketball. Caitlin Clark didn't just rise, she erupted into the spotlight, dragging the entire sport with her. Every arena she stepped into sold out. Every broadcast she touched shattered viewership records. Every highlight of hers ignited millions of screens within seconds. She wasn't just an athlete, she became a phenomenon, a cultural shift, a one-woman superstorm the media couldn't tame. And that was exactly the problem. Behind closed doors, PR meetings, editorial pipelines, whispers swirled.
It looked like they're trying to replace Caitlin Clark with Paige Bueckers. Well, really, it ain't looking that way because she has been replaced with Paige Bueckers.
She overshadows everyone. She's too big now. She's not controllable. What if she changes the entire hierarchy? Forbes executives, desperate to maintain an image of neutrality and sophistication, hated that kind of chaos. They hated unpredictability. They hated anything that made them look like they weren't in control of the narrative. And Caitlin Clark's fiery, historic, unstoppable represented everything they feared. She didn't fit into neat headlines. She didn't follow their rules. She didn't play the game the way media gatekeepers wanted. Meanwhile, Paige Bueckers, beloved and respected, was everything the establishment adored: steady, polished, humble, soft-spoken, marketable in the safe way corporations loved. Paige didn't ask for the comparison, didn't want the rivalry forced on her, but the system pushed it anyway. Every magazine feature, every panel discussion, every ranking list became a silent battleground between what the sport was becoming and what certain people wanted it to remain. Caitlin felt it long before the Forbes snub. The stares, the pressure, the shifting tone in interviews, the sudden scrutiny over harmless comments, the endless narratives. Is she too confident? Is she disrespectful? Is she overshadowing her teammates? Fans loved her. The league benefited from her. But the media machine, they were split, half obsessed, half intimidated. And Caitlin knew it. She felt the weight every time she walked into a press room. She heard the coded questions. She sensed the resentment in certain corners of sports media that didn't know how to handle a woman who broke their rules of stardom. Meanwhile, Paige watched the storm with increasing discomfort. She admired Caitlin, respected her, and secretly feared the day a media giant would pit them against each other, not because of talent, but because controversy sold more than truth. That day came faster than anyone expected at a private industry networking event weeks before the list dropped. Two Forbes editors were overheard discussing the rankings. They didn't know their conversation would eventually leak. They didn't know their words would set off the biggest PR disaster of their careers. "We can't put Clark at number one," one whispered. "She's too polarizing. She overshadowed the entire list. Paige is safer. She won't cause..." She won't cause backlash. Sponsors prefer her. But the most damaging line, the one that would come back to haunt them, was this: "If we give it to Clark, we lose control of the narrative." Those words, once leaked, would ignite fury across the sports world. But at the time, Caitlyn knew none of this. She was training, focusing, trying her hardest to tune out the noise building around her, trying to be grateful for her success. Despite knowing her every move was dissected under a microscope, but the emotional toll was there, heavy and unspoken. She wanted to be recognized for her work, her impact, her sacrifices. She wanted to feel respected, not tolerated. And deep down, the fear she never said aloud grew louder. What if people don't actually support me? They just use me. Meanwhile, Paige struggled with her own emotional burden. She didn't want to be used as a shield. She didn't want to be the acceptable face of women's basketball. The safe alternative, chosen not for merit, but convenience. She hated the idea that her friend, her rival, was being punished for being too successful. And yet, neither of them could stop what was coming. In the final days before the Forbes list went public, editors doubled down on their decision. Despite internal objections, despite warnings from younger staff members, despite knowing the public sentiment overwhelmingly supported Caitlyn's influence, they made their choice. Paige Bueckers, number one. Caitlyn Clark omitted entirely. A choice rooted not in merit, but in fear. A choice they believed they could explain, defend, and spin into harmless debate. But they completely underestimated one thing: the emotional bond between Caitlyn and her fans. They weren't going to let her be erased. Not after everything she had given. Not after how she carried women's basketball to heights nobody believed possible. So when the list finally dropped, when millions of eyes scanned it, in disbelief, something snapped. Not just in the public, but inside Caitlyn herself. Because as she sat alone in her living room, scrolling through reactions, interviews, debates, think pieces, memes, outrage, she felt the wound deeper than anyone realized. It wasn't about the ranking. It wasn't about prestige. It wasn't even about Forbes. It was about being dismissed, undervalued,
Clark snags another honor. She's made the Forbes 30 under 30 list. Clark, who is just 22 years old, is the only professional women's basketball player on this list. Forbes says Clark was chosen for leading the Indiana Fever to their first playoff appearance in 8 years, while breaking the WNBA single season assist record and earning Rookie of the Year honors. But wait, there's more. She also led the WNBA All-Star Game voting with more than 700,000 ballots and has been credited with an increase in league viewership.
Undercut, not for her talent, but for her impact. And for the first time, Caitlyn Clark felt a new emotion rising inside her, not just hurt or shock, but something far sharper, something far more dangerous. Because buried deep beneath every headline was a truth she could no longer ignore. Someone inside the media world wanted her taken down, and she was about to find out exactly who. The storm truly began the moment Caitlyn Clark opened her phone and saw the one notification she never expected. Paige Bueckers had posted a message, just one sentence. 10 words long, but powerful enough to flip the entire Forbes scandal into the biggest media war women's basketball had ever seen. Caitlyn should have been #1. This list isn't accurate. The internet detonated. Forbes scrambled. Reporters scrambled. Sponsors scrambled. But nothing compared to the chaos erupting inside the sports world's most private circles, group chats buzzing, PR teams panicking, agents fighting to control narratives, WNBA front offices watching in shock because Paige's public rejection of her own ranking exposed everything Forbes was trying to hide. But they weren't going down quietly, behind closed doors. Panic meetings began immediately. Editors argued, interns cried, the social team begged for guidance, and executives demanded everything be neutralized, except the truth. There was no neutralizing this. Caitlin Clark's snub had become the story, and Forbes made their biggest mistake yet. They decided the only way to regain control was to fight back. They started leaking soft, at first anonymous quotes to friendly reporters. Caitlin's fans are too intense. She makes brands nervous. She doesn't have the long-term influence Paige has. We stand by our data. But the leaks escalated fast. Suddenly, insiders were claiming Caitlin was difficult, overexposed, not as impactful as people believe. They wanted to shift blame. They wanted to justify the snub. They wanted to protect their image by destabilizing hers, except someone inside. Forbes went rogue because a second leak dropped, this time not against Caitlin, but against Forbes themselves. A leaked email thread, a full internal discussion, names, timestamps, receipts. The world suddenly saw the exact debate. Caitlin Clark guarantees engagement. Yes, but she's unpredictable. Paige is safer for our brand alignment. We can't let Clark overshadow the entire issue. Her fan base will harass us if she's not number one, then remove her entirely. Risky. But at least we control the narrative. And then one final damning line. Caitlin Clark is too powerful right now. We need balance. Balance. They didn't want balance. They wanted control. The internet erupted so violently that even celebrities outside sports weighed in. Late-night hosts mocked Forbes. Influencers roasted them. Politicians referenced it in tweets. It wasn't a list anymore, it was a cultural war. And Caitlin Clark, caught in the middle, felt the ground shifting under her feet. She sat in her apartment, staring at her phone, fingers trembling as messages flooded her screen from teammates, coaches, friends, reporters, brands. Some supportive, some sympathetic, some opportunistic, but all overwhelming. Her chest tightened. Her breath shortened. This wasn't what she wanted. Not fame, not controversy, not becoming the center of a story she didn't control. She whispered into the quiet room, I didn't ask for this, but the world didn't care. And Forbes had already crossed a line they couldn't erase. Meanwhile, Paige was spiraling, pacing her dorm hallway. Phone buzzing nonstop, agents calling, coaches texting, teammates asking what she meant with her post. Because by defending Caitlin, she had unknowingly declared war on Forbes and exposed herself to backlash she didn't see coming. Her agent called again. Paige, that post cost Forbes millions in ad value. They're furious. I don't care, Paige snapped. Caitlin deserved better. But it wasn't that simple. Because Forbes' retaliation didn't stop at leaks. They began privately contacting sponsors, suggesting Paige was being manipulated by public sentiment and didn't understand the bigger picture. They tried to use Paige to weaken Caitlin. They tried to use Paige's reputation as leverage. But Paige wasn't backing down. Meanwhile, in the WNBA office, executives watched the chaos unfold like an unstoppable wildfire. Kathy Engelbert held emergency calls with advisors. If this blows up any bigger, one warned, it could overshadow the entire season. Another added, brands are nervous. They don't know who to side with. Kathy exhaled, rubbing her temples. They shouldn't have forced players into the middle of this. But it was too late, because the real blow was still coming. Late that night, A new report dropped from a major outlet, not a rumor site. Not a random influencer, one of the biggest sports networks in the world. They claim to have exclusive information from a Forbes executive. And the headline, Nuclear Forbes exec. Caitlin Clark's popularity is bad for women's basketball. It's bad for women's basketball. The world stopped. Fans went feral. Stars reacted instantly. Even WNBA legends chimed in furious. But the emotional detonation happened in Caitlin's apartment. Her hands shook as she read the headline. Her body froze. Her throat closed. She whispered, barely audible, "I'm bad for the sport." She blinked back, tears anger, disbelief, humiliation, pain. All of it mixed like fire in her chest. She had worked her entire life to grow the sport, to push boundaries, to inspire young girls, to bring attention, money, respect, visibility. She didn't do it for recognition. She did it because she loved the game. And now the world's biggest media authority said she was hurting it. She felt her heart physically ache. Paige FaceTimed her immediately, face flushed with anger. "Caitlin, don't listen to that. They're lying. You know they're lying." Caitlin wiped her eyes. "But people will believe it." No, Paige insisted. Not this time. Caitlin wasn't convinced. Pain had already carved its place inside her chest. Then everything escalated again because another leak dropped. This time even more explosive. A Forbes briefing memo, in bold at the top, anticipate backlash from the Clark fan base. Position narrative. Paige is the true long-term face of women's basketball. Paige read it and nearly screamed. "Why are they using my name like this?" Caitlin whispered, "They're trying to turn us against each other." And Paige responded with the truth neither wanted to say out loud. "They think the sport isn't big enough for both of us." That sentence stung deeper than anything Forbes published. Because the truth was obvious. Forbes wanted a rivalry. They wanted competition. They wanted factions. They wanted drama. They wanted to control the narrative of women's basketball. And to do that, they needed to dim Caitlin's light. But the moment that changed everything came the next morning. A video surfaced, not leaked emails, not a headline, not an anonymous quote, a recording of a Forbes board meeting, full audio. A voice said, "If we highlight Caitlin Clark again, the sport will revolve around her. We need to push someone else before it becomes the Caitlin Clark League." Another replied, "Use Paige, she's safer, and she won't fight it." Paige froze as she watched it. Caitlin felt her stomach twist. Neither spoke for several long seconds. Then Paige whispered, horrified, "They used me." Caitlin whispered back, voice breaking, "They tried to erase me." But the recording didn't end there. The last voice cold. Calcutta said, "If Clark reacts emotionally, it only proves our point. Let her break." Caitlin's entire world went silent. Paige covered her mouth, eyes wide with shock. "Oh my God, Caitlin, they wanted to break you, okay?" And at that exact moment, every camera, every reporter, every analyst, every fan realized the same horrifying truth. This wasn't an accident. This wasn't a ranking decision. This wasn't an oversight. This was a targeted takedown. And now the world knew. But the most explosive twist was still coming. Because someone unexpected, someone powerful, someone the media would never challenge, was about to step into the battlefield, and when their statement dropped, everything would change. The fallout from the leaked Forbes boardroom audio didn't just spiral, it erupted into a multi-front war so chaotic, so uncontrollable, so PRO-apocalyptic that even the biggest media organizations panicked. Forbes had underestimated Caitlin Clark's influence. They had underestimated Paige Bueckers' integrity. But most of all, they had underestimated the entire world's willingness to defend women's basketball from being twisted into a media puppet show. And the first aftershock hit barely an hour after the audio dropped. A statement appeared online, bold, fiery, unmistakable. This treatment of Caitlin Clark is unacceptable. Enough is enough. Cheryl Miller, the internet imploded. Cheryl wasn't just a legend. She was a force of nature. A name that commanded instant respect. A name media giants avoided provoking. Her stepping into the scandal meant this wasn't just a controversy anymore. It was an indictment on the entire system. And Cheryl didn't stop there. She went live on national TV, no filter, no hesitation, no mercy. Forbes didn't snub Caitlin Clark, she said. They tried to erase her. And they tried to weaponize Paige Bueckers to do it. That's manipulation. That's politics. That's fear. And it's pathetic. Paige watched the broadcast with her hand over her mouth, stunned. Caitlin watched it with tears burning in her eyes. Forbes executives, they watched it like someone had detonated TNT under their headquarters, but escalation wasn't finished, because right after Cheryl's broadcast ended, something unprecedented happened. Brand sponsors started choosing sides. Nike's senior marketing director posted a cryptic message. Women's basketball is bigger than your lists. Gatorade reposted one of Caitlin's highlight reels with the caption, "Impact speaks for itself." And then, Wilson Basketball dropped a nuclear graphic, a mural of Caitlin Clark with the words, "Undeniable." Paige saw it trending and immediately defended her again. "I stand with Caitlin. Stop pitting us against each other." The internet roared. Forbes, in full panic, attempted damage control. They released a statement calling the audio misinterpreted. They blamed editing. They blamed an internal data issue. They blamed unfortunate misunderstandings, except someone inside. Forbes wasn't done leaking. A second video dropped. This one worse. It showed a senior board member saying, "If we choose Clark, every article next month will revolve around her. We'll lose the season's narrative. We need someone whose fame doesn't overpower the brand." The recording ended with the unmistakable sound of laughter. The internet didn't forgive that. Not now, not ever. But the next twist? No one could have predicted. Because while Forbes fought for survival, another powerful entity entered the battlefield, Team USA. Their spokesperson released a statement. "We do not condone undermining any player's impact on the growth of women's basketball." Fans gasped. Analysts exploded. Forbes spiraled deeper, but the real hit came seconds later. Team USA's official Instagram account unfollowed Forbes. That single click sent shockwaves around the globe. Reporters scrambled. Theories flooded in. People began asking whether the snub could impact Olympic partnerships. ESPN dedicated a full hour to the unfolding disaster. And Caitlin Clark, she sat frozen on her couch, staring at her phone as the world skyrocketed into chaos around her. "I didn't want all this," she whispered to Paige on FaceTime. Paige shook her head. "This isn't your fault. This is years of media politics exploding at once." But Caitlin wasn't convinced. She felt the storm closing in, the pressure tightening, the weight of being the face of a movement she never asked to lead. Yet the universe didn't care about her. Hesitation, because things were about to escalate again, this time from the inside. Late that night, another leak hit the internet. This time from a junior Forbes employee terrified of losing their job, but more terrified of staying silent. It was a screenshot of an internal Slack channel titled "Clark Management Strategy." Inside were messages discussing how to minimize backlash, how to shift the narrative toward Paige, how to avoid glorifying Caitlin's overexposure, and worst of all, CC fans are emotional. Use that against them. Paint them as irrational. The internet lost control. Caitlin's fan base united like a tidal wave. WNBA players began tweeting in all caps. Sponsors called emergency meetings. Journalists demanded accountability. But the escalation still wasn't done. Because someone unexpected, someone powerful, respected, nearly untouchable, finally stepped in. Maya Moore, out of retirement. Out of the shadows, into the fire, she posted one sentence: Caitlin Clark is good for basketball. Forbes is scared of change. Social media exploded so violently that Forbes servers slowed to a crawl. But the real bombshell. Minutes later, Maya posted again, and the person who pushed this anti-Clark agenda knows exactly who they are. The entire world froze. Comment sections lit up like wildfire. Analysts speculated nonstop. Paige texted Caitlin immediately. Do you know who she means? Caitlin didn't respond, because deep down, hidden under months of pressure, resentment, and politics, she already had a suspicion. One person in the media world had always treated her with subtle hostility. One editor never praised her without burying the compliment in criticism. One person questioned her maturity, her focus, her readiness to represent the league, someone powerful, influential, strategic. And as Caitlin stared at the ceiling that night, the truth hit her with a shiver. Forbes hadn't acted alone. Someone else orchestrated this. Someone who feared what Caitlin represented. Someone she trusted more than she should have. And when the world discovered who it was, that entire media structure surrounding women's basketball would collapse, because the final twist was coming, and it was bigger than Forbes, bigger than rankings, bigger than rivalries. It was personal, and the person behind the takedown was about to be exposed the moment the orchestrator's identity started circling through whispers and half-leaks. The entire sports world imploded into a level of chaos even Forbes couldn't have imagined. What began as a snub transformed into a full-scale cultural meltdown, public outrage, brand panic, fan revolts, league-wide statements, celebrity reactions, and a backlash so massive it drowned every other headline in America. Everywhere you looked, screens were glowing with the same question: who targeted Caitlin Clark? Fans camped on Reddit. Twitter X turned into a battlefield. TikTok filled with conspiracy breakdowns, alleged motives, timelines, and theories. Instagram stories became war zones. Even Facebook aunties got involved, posting hour-long rants about protecting women's sports. It didn't matter if you were a casual fan or a die-hard supporter. Everyone had picked a side, and there were only two sides: Caitlin Clark versus the establishment. Paige Bueckers watched helplessly as her name was dragged into every argument, repurposed into thumbnails she hated, weaponized against her best intentions. She posted again, "Stop using me to attack Caitlin. This is not me versus her." But it didn't slow the storm, because the bigger the scandal grew, the more the public realized this wasn't a ranking issue, it was a smear campaign. A takedown, a coordinated media hit, and as public pressure mounted, every major sports talk show demanded answers. ESPN cut regular programming to host emergency panels. Fox Sports brought in analysts who hadn't been relevant in years just to fill airtime. Even CNN ran a headline: "Media manipulation in women's sports." The Caitlin Clark question. Then it got uglier. A Forbes contributor publicly quit resigning live on TikTok. Her message went viral instantly: "I won't be part of an organization that punishes Caitlin Clark for being successful." The video hit 30 million views in one night. Forbes tried issuing a second statement, but fans ripped it apart within minutes. One comment underneath said everything: "We don't want an apology. We want the truth." The public wasn't calming down. They were escalating. Outside Forbes HQ, protesters gathered holding signs: "Stop dimming women's light. Caitlin built this era. Media corruption is real. Paige and Caitlin both deserve better." Caitlin saw the crowd on her phone, her heart twisting painfully. She never wanted fans fighting for her like this. She never wanted to be the symbol of a war she didn't start. She especially didn't want Paige dragged into something she didn't choose. But the fallout wasn't stopping. Journalists began digging deeper into Forbes' connections, uncovering emails with other media figures, PR strategists, and corporate partners who had concerns about Caitlin Clark's growing dominance. Fans demanded full transparency. Meanwhile, Paige's fanbase and Caitlyn's fanbase, usually divided, merged into a single furious army. For the first time ever, hashtag Clark Wexon said trended #1 worldwide, but the emotional cost. It was devastating. Caitlyn couldn't sleep. Her chest tightened every time she checked her phone. Every headline felt like another cut, another betrayal, another reminder that success came with a target on her back. Paige called her again. This time, Caitlyn answered with a trembling voice. "I don't want to be a problem," Caitlyn whispered. "You're not the problem," Paige said fiercely. "They're scared of your power." Caitlyn swallowed hard. "Then why does it feel like the whole world is collapsing around us?" Paige didn't respond immediately. She just looked at her with eyes full of sadness. "Because you changed the sport," she finally said. "And some people can't handle change." The fallout spread beyond sports. Political commentators weighed in. Business analysts dissected Forbes' collapse. Economists discussed the Caitlyn Clark effect as a market force. Entertainment hosts defended her. Even other athletes, tennis stars, soccer icons, Olympians posted messages of support. But the darkest part of the fallout came when someone leaked the orchestrator's name, not publicly, not in headlines, but through coded messages, cryptic tweets, anonymous hints, enough clues for people to piece it together. And when fans put the puzzle together, social media erupted like a volcano. The orchestrator wasn't someone inside Forbes. It wasn't a jealous executive. It wasn't a random critic. It was a respected, well-known, influential figure in women's basketball media. Someone who had interviewed Caitlyn dozens of times. Someone who analyzed her games. Someone who pretended to support her growth publicly, while trying to destroy her influence privately. The public's outrage transformed instantly, from anger to fury, from debate to war, from criticism to demands for this person's resignation. The orchestrator tried to deny everything, but the screenshots were real. The emails were real. The voice clips were real. And once the truth became undeniable, every sponsor, every network, every reporter, every fan turned against the mastermind behind Caitlyn Clark's takedown. But the fallout wasn't over, because now the orchestrator, cornered, exposed, desperate, was preparing to strike back with one final, catastrophic move. A move that would drag Caitlyn, Paige, Cheryl Miller, and the entire WNBA into the eye of a scandal unlike anything the league had ever seen. And the next twist would be the biggest one yet. The orchestrator's identity didn't stay hidden for long. Once fans pieced the clues together, voice inflections from leaked clips, writing style from internal memos, timestamps from shady emails, the truth spread like wildfire across every platform. Comment sections froze. Live streams halted. Entire group chats went silent before exploding with disbelief. Because the person behind the Caitlyn Clark takedown wasn't a random editor. It was one of the most trusted women's basketball journalists in the country. A woman who built her career interviewing rising stars. A woman celebrated for supporting the growth of the women's game. A woman who had publicly praised Caitlyn Clark dozens of times. She wasn't a critic. She wasn't a skeptic. She wasn't even subtle. She was an insider, someone with direct influence over rankings, features, sponsorship narratives, player reputations, and national coverage. Fans couldn't believe it. Players couldn't believe it. Reporters couldn't believe it. And Caitlyn Clark, her hands trembling as she scrolled through the revelations, felt her heart fracture in a way no headline, no snub, no criticism had ever managed before. Because she trusted this woman, trusted her with stories, trusted her with interviews, trusted her with her voice, and that trust had been weaponized. The orchestrator, now exposed, didn't go down quietly. She retaliated instantly. She posted a video addressing the scandal. "I didn't sabotage Caitlyn Clark. I protected women's basketball from becoming a one-player circus." The world froze. Cheryl Miller saw it tan nearly through her phone. Paige Bueckers watched with a shaking hand covering her mouth. Alia Boston texted in disbelief. She actually said that out loud. Angel Reese tweeted one word: "Wow." But the orchestrator kept going. Voice dripping with arrogance, Caitlin Clark's popularity is unstable. It threatens the balance of the sport. Paige is a better long-term face. I simply tried to guide Forbes in the right direction. Guide, manipulate, rewrite history. The comments erupted instantly. You tried to erase her. This is jealousy disguised as analysis. You just admitted you sabotaged her. Protect the sport. You heard it. Yet the orchestrator doubled down. If Caitlin cannot handle adversity, she doesn't deserve the spotlight. That line snapped something inside Paige Bueckers. She went live immediately, face flushed, voice shaking with fury. Enough. Caitlin has done nothing but elevate this sport. And the fact that someone who claimed to support us is sabotaging her, that's disgusting. You used me to hurt her. You lied to fans. You lied to players. You lied to all of us. It was the most emotional moment of Paige's public career. Millions watched, but Caitlin couldn't watch anymore. She turned off her phone. She curled her hands into fists. She felt a pressure building in her chest. Betrayal, humiliation, rage. For the first time, Caitlin Clark questioned everything. Her trust, her place in the sport, her future. Her place in the sport, her future. Tears stung her eyes, not from weakness, but from heartbreak. She whispered into the quiet, "Why me? Why does it always have to be me?" But the universe didn't give her time to break, because the orchestrator had one last, one final strike designed to burn Caitlin completely. A reporter texted Cheryl Miller 3 words: "She's going live." The orchestrator had scheduled another broadcast this time, bringing receipts, messages, and context that she claimed would prove Caitlin Clark is not a victim. Sports world froze. Cheryl's face turned white. Paige texted Caitlin nonstop. Angel Reese tweeted, "Do not let her get away with this." Boston wrote, "This is going too far." Even Maya Moore posted, "This ends now." But Caitlin, she sat alone in her apartment, staring at the wall, feeling everything crumble. She hadn't spoken publicly yet. She hadn't defended herself. She hadn't attacked anyone. She hadn't said a single word since the snub. She didn't know whether to fight back or walk away. Because now, this wasn't about rankings. This was about her. Identity. Her legacy. Her relationship with Paige. Her trust in the media. Her place in the future of the sport. And just when it felt like things couldn't get any worse, a notification lit up Caitlin's dark apartment. A message from an anonymous account. No profile picture. No name. Just one sentence. "You don't know the real orchestrator. Look deeper." Caitlin froze. Because attached beneath that message was a file labeled Phase 2 Clark Containment Strategy. Her heart stopped. She opened it, and what she saw: names, emails, plans, a second orchestrator. Someone bigger. Someone more powerful. Someone she never imagined. Her entire world shattered. Because this wasn't over. This was only the beginning, and the real mastermind had just stepped out of the shadows the moment Caitlin Clark opened the Phase 2 Clark Containment Strategy file. The truth crystallized into something far darker than a media scandal. This wasn't about Forbes. This wasn't about one journalist. This wasn't even about Paige Bueckers or rankings or popularity. This was a coordinated power play, calculated, intentional, systemic. A plan to control the narrative of an entire sport by shaping who rose and who fell. And Caitlin Clark, the athlete who brought unprecedented attention, money, viewership, and passion into women's basketball, was the target they feared the most. But here's the part that matters now. This fight is no longer Caitlin's alone. It belongs to all of us. Every fan who bought a ticket, every kid who wore a Clark or Beuckers jersey to school, every viewer who made history with record-breaking broadcasts, every athlete whose voice was dismissed because it threatened the old system. This scandal cracked open a truth the world can't ignore anymore. Women's sports don't fail because of lack of talent or interest. They fail because gatekeepers sabotage the very stars who could elevate them. And that stops now. If you're reading this, if you felt the shock, the betrayal, the injustice, don't let the orchestrators rewrite the story. Don't let the people who tried to silence Caitlin Clark walk away without accountability. Don't let the sport shrink back into the shadows after everything these players built. Speak, share, post, demand. Transparency. Demand fairness. Demand better. Stand with Caitlin. Stand with Paige. Stand with the players who give everything on the court while others manipulate. Narratives off it. Because this isn't just a scandal. It's a turning point. A moment that defines whether women's basketball continues as a controlled system or it becomes the unstoppable force Caitlin Clark helped ignite. End the next chapter. It's not up to Forbes. It's not up to insiders. It's not up to orchestrators hiding behind screens. It's up to you. The world is watching. The truth is out. Now choose a side because this fight is far from over. Far from over.